I fear no man, but that thing... It scares me.
Hello everyone, it's me, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Welcome to my gaming channel. I decided to fire my editor after audibly violating my audiences in the Heart of the Swarm video. Don't worry, I took special care of him. Welcome to Legacy of the Void, ASMR edition. I asked you guys if you wanted successful runs or more experimental runs on YouTube, and the results would lead to this video. Today we try to beat StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void with only probes on Brutal. Same rules as last time, anything a probe can do, I can do. All units given to me in a mission at the start or as the mission progresses are allowed. All army upgrades, Spear of Adun upgrades, and all Spear of Adun abilities. After beating the campaign, I learned something very important. You cannot beat this campaign with only probes. Okay, like, favorite, subscribe, ring the bell. Bye. I'm just kidding. Let's press on anyway.
ودي كانت حيلة جميلة من هذا المسلم الفاضل.
Welcome everyone, class is now in session, so pay attention. Let's go over our illustrious hero, the probe. Probes are much like many in the Protoss army, equipped with a shield and a small taser. But the builder unit of the Protoss has key structures that we need to pay attention to. The photon cannon is the first weapon we get, good enough in large numbers but very fragile. Next, the Kydarian monolith, which is the tomahawk missile of the Protoss, doing tons of damage. Next, the shield battery, the most crucial building in the Protoss arsenal, being the only means to restore my shields quickly. Finally, the Nexus, the top of the food chain in Protoss defense. In addition, we get access to the Spear of Adun later into the game, allowing us to use a wide variety of unique and unorthodox abilities. Lastly, the campaign allows you to customize all your units within your army. While this won't affect the probes, it will affect units that we get in the mission. And with all of that, class is now dismissed. In the first mission, Zeratul is combing through the musky labs of the Mobius Foundation. Corporate greed isn't the only thing found here, with the benevolent corporation performing genetic experiments on the Protoss. It's up to Zeratul to free the Protoss before Kerrigan can destroy the base. So I'm gonna spoil the mission. It was a complete failure. It was easy enough avoiding Kerrigan, but advancing through the base was nigh impossible. Defending from enemy attacks with a wall of photon cannons was easy enough. Every time I met even a few units, I would have to build a proxy base in order to try and clear them out. Biggest obstacle in this mission was of course bunkers. Their range advantage can take out my cannons before they're even set up, and we will still have to deal with the recently evicted occupants of said bunker. So I went with plan B, using the probes as a battering ram. One quick war crime later and we secured the plateau, but the cruel overlords at Blizzard decided to play a very clever trick on us, summoning 5 Reapers to take out my newly minted cannons. And if you're ever wondering how probes do against Reapers, I hope the footage below can answer your question. Since I couldn't get past the plateau or get to the first Protoss captives, I deemed this mission a failure. The second mission was also a complete failure. You know what's worse than a bunker blocking your path? A photon cannon. You know what's worse than that? A Colossus. Besides my outgunned photon cannons, I only had one itty bitty void ray, so it was a complete failure. This was probably my greatest failure throughout the campaign as well. I had never lost a mission this fast throughout the campaign. And really, you could tell how much trouble I had just by how little I was able to advance through the mission. Now we're in luck because the next 2 episodes have nothing to do with probes at all, so we can just skip them completely. Next mission is Growing Shadow. A short mission because I made no progress whatsoever. And it's a very simple reason as to why. We don't get any photon cannons in this mission. Now you can use the stalkers that you're given at the start as well as the stalkers that you find close to your base, giving you a total of 6 stalkers to help you through the mission. So you can clear out the Zerg hidden in the trees waiting to ambush you. That is, until you get attacked by 2 Ultralisks and a flock of Mutalisks. For the Raffles, I built an army of probes to try and assert my dominance over the game. Now, I'm unsure if there is some stutter step or a secret Korean technique that I can use on the probes, but it was clear that I was once again committing more war crimes. So after failing to make use of my probe meat shield, I just gave up the mission and we get on to the next mission. Now we're up to the final mission of Ire, and once again, this was a total failure. We have a new problem, and Blizzard just loves to humble me every step of the way. The major problem of this mission was clearing out these structures scattered across the map. Creep around them prevents photon cannons to be built in addition to the units around the area. The addition of the shield battery makes things a whole lot easier easier, allowing me to rebuild my shield very quickly. But the mission is impossible to advance, and once again I am met with the familiar sight of already established photon cannons with Zerg units. A horrifying combination. Eventually, with a combo of Protoss, Hybrid, and Zerg, my face fell. The photon cannon isn't really the best weapon in the probe's arsenal, especially with how squishy it is. Now, considering we were only able to complete one of the objectives here for the mission, I deemed this a failure and moved on. After every single mission being a failure, I can safely say that Amon's Reach was a victory. Probably the easiest mission in the whole campaign. I barely pushed out, only using 4 of my starting Dark Templars to clear all the objectives, making use of critically important and morally justifiable airstrikes on unsuspecting drones and structures that can detect my Dark Templars. The erotic void spawn that would appear randomly throughout the mission were such a joke to deal with. They did very little damage, they did not detect my Dark Templars. I could just ignore them and just focus on the objective. I was becoming quite good at making sure my enemies were behind my photon cannon wall, which were also behind a wall of gateways and shield batteries. The Last Stand is my favorite mission of the whole campaign, with Zerg and Hybrid swarming the planet with the goal of trapping them all and blowing up the planet. A galactic IED. So this mission was stupidly successful. You could just sit back and turtle up, spamming a ridiculous amount of Kydarian monoliths that do quite a lot of damage. In addition, I also gained access to Nexus Overcharge, allowing my Nexus to become photon cannon, stronger, thicker, more range, and a faster fire rate from what I can tell. Because of the amount of gateways and my ADHD focus in spamming out as many shield batteries as possible, the mission was a complete joke. I could just relax with my dick tanked out as army after army get crushed beneath volleys of the Protoss equivalent of weapons of mass destruction. I even managed to clear the 1.5 billion bonus objective, ending the mission on my own terms with 1.7 billion Zerg on the planet. The extra mission objectives were just to destroy these polygonal structures, which can easily be done with just a few Dark Templars given at the start, as well as the new toy replacing our US airstrikes with Covenant glassing. One button click later, and this will be the second victory in the run. Sky Shield has something that's the perfect nut cruncher to every campaign: a time limit. Time limits are something I've struggled with greatly, and it hurts our campaign since we have to wait for our buildings to fart into existence. It's a huge waste of time when combined with the time limit requiring us to kill all the primates within the objective. The Covenant continue to give their support, but as the level increases in difficulty, more crap is added to the objective, resembling the DMZ between Pakistan and India. I managed to get to the 4th objective when I gave up. I did feel like this mission was possible, but my multiple losses and the lack of progress on the 4th mission discouraged me. Advancing through levels in StarCraft 2 is already a hard enough challenge with probes only, but with a time limit, it's the worst combo. But I was so close to finishing this mission, including the objective. I think the time limit was the biggest factor for not finishing off this inferior species faster. Look at them, they still defecate. I tried Sky Shield again and managed to clear the 4th objective until running out of time in the last one. The only thing I'm good at is bombarding you guys with enough visual and audio stimuli to make you guys forget why you watched the video in the first place. And I know there is probably a South Korean superhuman who has probably beaten the story mode with probes only using his toes. So if you are one of those people, or you finished a campaign with this challenge, let me know so I can immortalize your comments forever. Now this mission was difficult, a doozy, a real piece of shit. Spanked me so hard I almost nutted. Premature ejaculation aside, this mission has us protecting not 1 but 2 brain dead AIs. And I'm not doing that to try and cyberbully anyone, but these armies are vital with pushing forward all the way to the Protoss Keystone. Where does the key lead? I don't know, somewhere special. However, the Hybrid have access to admin controls, knocking out all humans for a total of 2 minutes on both sides. So in comes me, Tard wrangling, keeping the Terran alive, while also with my 2 Immortals barely having enough time to push out against the Red Terrans. The enemy Terran are drenched in red, red being the symbolism for blood, blood being the symbolism for violence, blood for blood banks, for blood transfusions, blood for the blood god! So I'm always trying to keep my buddies Jim and Valerian alive from the Hybrids. After the enemy stand loses its power, we end up going back to square one with the enemy Terran once again pushing us back. Without the advantage of what I describe as weaponized dementia, this whole process of expanding was going to be quite difficult. Eventually, by keeping my boys alive, pushing out when I can during the time-stop sections, and keeping my base alive, I reached a high point in the campaign. But as I continued to advance, I would face stronger and stronger hybrid opposition and attack waves, and that would require me to build stronger defenses. And when we pushed up, I would have to create more defenses to follow up on our advance. See the issue? Eventually I completely ran out of resources and my advancement hit a huge wall. Speaking of walls, this is when I found out Nexus were actually way better than photon cannons, so I had to think outside the box. The mission only requires me to protect the biggest simps in the galaxy and grab the Keystone. I don't actually have to destroy the bases, so I devised a plan to grab the Keystone and finish the mission passively, of course. Now the Keystone had quite a bit of health, but my laser ability does 600 damage max, so keeping in mind of Solarite and cooldown, I can spam it as much as I want. So after what was a long and morally conflicted bombing campaign where I tased the Protoss again and again, we were eventually able to break the Keystone's chastity belt and grab it. By the tiny hairs of my genitals, we were able to finally finish the mission. Now the tables are turned in this mission. Running past Alarak's long, red, hot shaft, racing him to the finish line. Alarak's beam is quite a speedy boy, but getting through this level wasn't much of an issue. Really, the biggest issue was I couldn't outrun Alarak's beam. By only having my solar lance as a reliable way of killing enemies, most of my time was wasted creating little kill zones to wipe out small chunks of units. Adding to this, the fact that any reinforcements coming to my base were often meeting my token force of probes and sentries I kept alive through the mission. With the ray of light speeding past me, this was pretty much over. In order to keep up with these missions, I'm going to really need more ways to damage enemies with Solarite. Oh Allah, I hate this mission. I wasn't able to complete one objective. The mission has you protecting your base and holding these objectives at the same time. With the Protoss and Terran coming at you, it's the mission that will test your defenses the most. With constant attacks left me battered and bruised, unable to get up. Relying on the solar lance to clear objectives, defend from attacks, and advancing through the level can only get me so far. If you are going to try this mission with this challenge, I suggest to keep the Phoenixes alive as they can provide intel for your solar lance to pick off armies. Then capture the objective. You need to make sure you can clear out all the points from enemy forces while also keeping your points protected and under your control. Since units will constantly keep attacking you at the objective sites, you're going to have to be prepared to defend all points you capture with base defenses. If we can take a peek back into the plot, we gotta save Artanis by entering the Cave of Wonders. I can't tell you what she has, but she's not taking proper precautions. It's a time limit to destroy the void crystals before Kerrigan dies. Dealing with Protoss, Terran, and Hybrid, we have two saving graces. Tassadar joins my battleship, previously a Protoss, respect his pronouns, and Kerrigan's army. Kerrigan's attacks are timed throughout the mission, which teeters on being useful or complete wastes of time, having her only attack the void crystals for a brief period. A standard Exterminatus isn't going to work because these void crystals are quite beefy boys. Tassadar cannot target the void crystal. His struggle is to put a hole in every unit's face. Most of the mission was spent glassing and fisting everything in my path to the objective, then destroying the crystals slowly. For defending my base, it was a trivial and oftentimes completely boring endeavor, using my wombo combo if things got too hairy. But coordinating with Kerrigan was a completely different issue altogether. Most of the time, I would do all the work. With the Solarite abilities being quite costly and me only having 3 High Templar, I managed to get close to the last objective, but it was too late, and Kerrigan died. With the full complement of the Protoss arsenal, we can have a much better time with the rest of the missions. Unlocking one of my favorite abilities. This objective is simple. Survive from the sleep paralysis demons given life from a fog of the most glorious kind. In addition, kill the 4 warlords who guard the Grand Line. While long in length, the mission was quite the breeze. I've outdone myself creating the perfect Protoss defensive line, a layered walled defense of pylons, nexus, shield batteries, and monoliths, annihilating all attempts to besiege our tiny pocket. These fog defense sections happen quite frequently, but as you can see, my defenses have hardly any issue. While this happens, I use the 2 free void rays we get to drop all of our abilities near these attics. A combination of indiscriminate disintegration, mechanical fists, and the orbital destruction allows me to easily kill 4 of Alarak's ex-relationships. Once again, we have another one-on-one battle in StarCraft, only with Malash and Alarak this time. Much like the Kerrigan-Narud fight, we cannot influence the outcome besides moving the positions of the 2 characters. This time, we can influence this with units around the 2, which is the largest disadvantage of the whole mission. We only have a few Void Rays and Stalkers, which is not enough to compete with the constant waves of units slapping us over over and over again. I was able to set up once again a beautiful defensive line protecting me from the Tal'Darim and the hybrid that wished to aid Malash. But here's the problem: due to my use of only probes and a small complement of forces, I was frequently pushed back by Malash's forces, mostly running away instead of engaging, and with the many units streaming across the map, I was never able to push up my defensive line an hour into the mission. I was out of resources from 2 bases towards the end. The offensives were brutal, with colossi and hybrids of all sexualities and Tal'Darim air forces forcing me to replace my defenses. The mission was a beautiful ebb and flow, going back and forth between my defenses to whatever place I was able to push Alarak briefly to. But without an actual army to compete with the constant stream of units, I wasn't able to keep up a constant push, even with all of my weapons helping me out towards the end. I knew beforehand this mission would be a failure due to this challenge, but I was able to reach the end technically, so this mission right here sucks. An absolute failure. We have to escort this cancelled concept art for the entire mission, having to stop and defend it every time he drops a fat load. During these sections, defending the big boy is easy, setting up token defenses and using the 4 colossi given to us. But while this thing moves, it's going through creep-infested Zerg valleys where these brave Mujahideen have been waiting to attack us from their caves. The difficulty in this mission comes from my inability to help the robot against anything. After using all of my trap cards, it was impossible to advance, especially with Colossus, considering they can't shoot air at all. So after exhausting all my options and unable to build any defenses to shoot up, I had to watch my battle bot die over and over again. I forgot about this mission till I was editing everything. This mission has us defending the conduit while destroying the small hemorrhoids that connect to it. After destroying a few, the purifiers activate and clear a section of the map for us, with precision bombing making my cousins proud and constructing a massive wall around the conduit. We eventually rinse and repeat the cycle of bomb, defend, xenocide, and win. One of the strangest missions in the campaign, allowing us to move our base around the map at our own pace. I always find these missions awesome because they change the pace up in a very unique way. Being a nomad moving from mineral field to mineral field with the 3 free carriers, I created a mobile island battleship to deal with all threats coming at me. Lack of proper living space be damned. Using my island as an aircraft carrier, I would fly phoenixes by my targets and annihilate them from above with aerial, or in this case orbital, superiority, finishing the mission quite easily. Counting down the last mission, this mission has us destroying all 5 of Amon's Horcruxes, that he has filled with all manner of deprived and hedonistic energy. However, they emit a field that summons back the sleep paralysis demons, now representing every race including the hybrid helping them, bringing huge armies guarding the surrounding shards, increasing the size, intensity, and girth of these armies with every passing stroke of time. Once again, I take inspiration from real-world governments and we wall ourselves off. Everyone behind this wall is either a demon, a hybrid, or worse, united in their failure to breach my wall defenses. I protected my first base, my natural, and my final base as if they were my children, using my probes and later stalkers to summon our good boy Tassadar to tie up the Shadow Army while I bombed the ever-loving shit out of every shard. After surviving assault after assault from the Shadow clones, and destroying shard after shard with complete disregard for the lives below, finally using the power of friendship to murder the shit out of Amon. So Salvation is the final mission to the traditional Legacy of the Void campaign, and it's very similar to the last mission in Wings of Liberty. We have to guard the Keystone while it charges, then shove it up Amon's ass, and this mission was a complete mess. You have to defend a few entrances alongside your allies, complemented with their own armies. So this mission has us fighting off Protoss, Hybrid, and Zerg, blocking off each of the entrances as I had done time before guarding my Nakama. The mission goes smoothly until the special thing that makes this mission unique happens. Gradually over time during the mission, your various Spear of Adun abilities are taken away. Then one by one they breach the defenses, and each time it happens another one of my friends falls. Except for Alarak, who always runs to his death at the beginning. Annoyingly, it seems like the hero units don't respawn even though they will continuously talk to you long after they die. The lack of Spear of Adun abilities throughout this mission makes it harder and harder for me to destroy the increasingly stronger waves of enemies battering our walls, each time penetrating deeper and deeper into my moist, warm insides, making me abuse the autosave feature countless times. I tried to create the thickest walls, but with less of my toss friends, fewer abilities, and finally fewer resources, I was soon unable to deal with the constant attacks. Slowly my defenses fall one by one, with my last Spear of Adun ability being the Orbital Bombardment. 84 94% was the farthest I've ever gotten in this mission before having my defenses breached. But let me know if you could finish this mission with this challenge. I still believe towards the end that maybe with a few more towers I could have actually been able to complete the mission, and with some luck. But now that Legacy of the Void is over, we have one more mission to play. Into the Void is the first mission of the epilogue for Legacy of the Void. I'm only going to care about this mission because this is the only Protoss mission. Into the Void was the longest mission I've ever recorded for any of these videos. This mission took a whopping 3 hours. The mission has us fighting Narud in the Shadow Realm with our two best friends, Kerrigan and Jim. The objective is simple, to kill Narud and keep your best friends alive all in the process. Narud's looking hotter than ever, sporting a new look and some new abilities, the most important of which is when Narud creates a son, astral spurging a child into existence. This aborted fetus will rampage to our base. And since Narud is an entitled parent, we have to deal with the child ourselves. And to get to Narud, we're going to have to pass through a massive field filled with shards that exude the same damaging fog that was in the previous missions we had dealt with. In addition, small portals that spawn more clones, flooding my map and my graphics card. Narud sends practically everything at you, with armies that outnumber your allied forces and the small measly token forces you have. Luckily for me, my allies are just going to keep spamming out units for the entirety of the match, which means it's up to us to deal with all the structures on our path to Narud. With 2 vanguards, we push forward, clearing out all the structures, allowing my allies to actually secure proxy bases so that they can send over more powerful units to Narud. As we slowly clear the map, we also establish mighty defenses to guard against Amon's hordes. But the Spear of Adun sadly isn't as useful this time around. The mission chooses your abilities for you, so in my complement I have the Pylon summoning ability, Solar Lance, a shield bonus to all my units and allies for a brief period of time, and Time Stop. While some of these abilities were very useful, the lack of Tassadar in my orbital bombardment was very noticeable. Not to talk down on Time Stop or the shield bonus ability, as these two were an incredibly powerful combo with my vanguards. I did also notice that vanguards are an incredibly broken unit. Now defending my 2 allies was a nightmare, as they churn out units constantly, but they're in little itty bitty sizes, allowing this 20-foot tall mistake to mow down my allies every step of the way. Their hero units don't even come back when they die once, even though you see Kerrigan's cocoon right there expecting her to pop out. In any case, playing daddy for these two, juggling between defending my expansions, clearing out Amon structures, killing his son every chance I get before he kills me, all the normal bells and whistles of maintenance that comes with constant war, it was a hassle. Eventually, I managed to clear out everything until we got to Narud's plateau, but I wasn't able to establish a forward base nor get rid of the portals, as Narud had the handy ability of rebuilding the first 4 portals that were in front of him. All attempts to try and get a forward base were pushed back by the giant armies coming down from the flanks. However, I realized after killing the medevacs, he had no way to heal himself. So I embarked on the longest calamari frying session I have ever undertaken, slowly and slowly melting Narud's skin off, eventually killing him, finishing the challenge. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you especially to all my patrons for making this video possible. If you want to support the channel, you can head over to my Patreon and support me on my quest to bring halal content to YouTube, friendly for monetization everywhere. And I'd like to thank everyone for sticking around for these videos and my transition into this new type of content. More to come with EU4 fans being satisfied very soon. To StarCraft fans and normal people, let me know what challenge you would like to see next. Hold off as gamers, and take care.
للعزائم